All right, what's up, guys? It's game day. Clones, Baylor coming up tonight. Iowa State could be 5-1 going into the bye week with a legitimate chance to win the Big 12 championship down the stretch here in the season. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. But first, we need to thank our sponsor of today's game day show. Of course, that is our friends at the Iowa Clinic and the Iowa Clinic Men's Center. I don't just tell you guys to be a man and go to the doctor. It's not a ghost. That's my dog messing with the curtains back there. I actually do go to the doctor. I got my flu shot this week. I got my physical. You can see the photos right here. Check it out. That simple. You go right in. It's actually really slick too. They're putting like their urgent care in Ankeny, at least where I was. That's where the sick people go. Just checkups and stuff like that in the other area. So they're keeping you separated. Super safe. Everybody's wearing a mask. You don't got to worry about nothing. Go get that flu shot. It's more important this year than ever. Be a man. Go to the doctor. All right, game day here on the Cyclone Fanatic social media feeds. We'll have the Cyclone Fanatic halftime show at halftime at tonight's game. Brett Meyer and Matt Van Winkle will join me to break down the first half of Iowa State Baylor. Today, let's look at let's start off with the Big 12 schedule. 11 o'clock, ABC. I think it's the game of the week in the conference. West Virginia at Texas. It's a prove it game for both of these teams, in my opinion. Texas, like when you play horse and the guy hits the crazy half court shot. Why, as a society, did we decide you had to prove it? Because we don't want some dude just hitting garbage shots and winning it all. This is a prove it game for the Texas Longhorns. You really hadn't beaten anybody good leading up to this thing. Go on the road at Stillwater, a team that you were right there. It was like a 3-point underdog, something like that. You win the game. Shout out to you. Prove it. They can beat West Virginia this weekend. So West Virginia thinks that they should be in the mix of the Big 12. We'll see about that. I'm not buying it. Texas wins this game by a touchdown. Kansas at Oklahoma. This is the lock of the week. 37.5. Roll with the Sooners. They're going to kill. They might outscore them by 37 in the first half. Texas Tech at TCU, 2:30 kick, FS1. Same analysis I had on TCU last week. They're a good team. They're not a great team. They're going to do very well against these middle-of-the-pack teams in the Big 12 Conference. Rolling with the Horned Frogs. Now, championship implications in Manhattan. Iowa State will keep an eye on this 3 o'clock kick between Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Surprisingly, Oklahoma State is a 12.5-point favorite today. Kansas State's very good in this position as an underdog. I wouldn't bet this game with Van Winkle's money, but yeah, I tell you what, I'm gonna have all eyes on it. I'm rooting for Kansas State. I think you'd rather at this point give them their second loss, and then Iowa State can give Kansas State their second loss and steal the tiebreaker coming up in a couple of weeks. So Cyclone fans, be rooting for Kansas State in that football game at 3 o'clock today on Fox. All right, let's go to the varsity game. Clones, Baylor, Iowa State wearing the blacks tonight. Getting after Charlie Brewer, to me, is a really important part of this football game. Baylor's offense has been fairly anemic throughout the first year of the Dave Aranda tenure. And Charlie Brewer's a really nice quarterback. We know that. But, man, he's been asked to do a whole heck of a lot all by himself. And his offensive line has not been good. Baylor giving up 3.5 sacks per game. That's one of the worst numbers in the entire Big 12 Conference. He was sacked 5 times. 5. Last week against TCU. Normally, John Haycock is a very conservative defensive coordinator in how he wants to go after the quarterback. That's how the dime stack works. You want to get pressure with 3 if you can. Man, but I almost think Iowa State blitzes earlier. You don't see them blitz in the first quarter very often. It's usually midway through the second. I could see him bringing some heat earlier on in this one. If you can make him uncomfortable, Baylor's going to have a heck of a hard time scoring the football later on tonight. 3 is special teams, man. Like, I almost threw my football there. I didn't want to knock things over. God, like, it's just so frustrating. Like, when your team misses extra points and gives up special teams touchdowns. I mean, we're tired of it, Cyclones. We're tired of it. Stop it. Have a clean special teams game, please. Please. And this also comes to the fact that Iowa State is very good. I think Iowa State is one of the favorites to win the Big 12 conference this year. But they're not good enough to just show up against a team like Baylor, Baylor's not very good this year, but they're not Kansas. They're not Kansas. Don't be giving up special teams touchdowns and letting this team hang around here tonight. Clean up the special teams. If you want to play for championship Cyclones, you got to clean that crap up. Run the football. Listen, Baylor's defense is analytically pretty good this year. 4.9 yards per play. That's a top 20 number so far in college football. I'm a little skeptical based off of their competition, but whatever. They gave up 247 yards on the ground last week against TCU. Gary Patterson giving us the blueprint tonight. Rumor has it, Breece Hall has been seen around Jack Trice Stadium all week just salivating, ready to go for tonight. I think he runs wild. Number one for the Cyclones is pass protection. Same key I had for Baylor. This is something that I haven't been impressed with Iowa State the last two games. And it's, a lot of young guys playing on the line, a lot of injuries. I think they've exceeded expectations this year, but they have not done a very good job of protecting Brock Purdy the last two games. Part of that is the scheme. I think that really good defensive minds are getting after Iowa State, and I fully anticipate Dave Aranda to do the same thing. I'm not a big Les Miles fan. He's no spring chicken, but he is a good defensive mind, and they went after Brock last week and really showed some holes in the interior of that Iowa State line. They've got to get better there, guys, because if not, we've seen Brock, when he gets under pressure, that's when he starts to throw the interceptions that make Twitter go crazy. I'd really like to see that get cleared up just get the win tonight, and then you can really roll up your sleeves and work on that during the bye. But pass protection is key because I think Iowa State will be able to run the football, but they can't get one-dimensional against Dave Aranda. He's too good of a defensive coach. Baylor's been too good. He's done a really good job on that side of the ball this year, guys. Don't be flustered by Baylor's record. They had to replace 9 starters on defense, and they've been really good. Aranda is an elite defensive mind in college football, probably a top 5 offensive or defensive mind, and he's going to have a good game plan for the Cyclones later on tonight when they kick off at Jack Trice Stadium at 6 o'clock. All right, Iowa State and Baylor, 6 o'clock kick. I want to pull up what exactly my final score prediction was so I make sure I'm accurate. But I do have Iowa State right around the spread line, 31-14 tonight. This feels a lot like the Texas Tech game to me. However, I don't know. I feel like this one will be less of a sure thing. We knew going into the fourth quarter Iowa State had that game won. I could see Baylor being within 10, making this somewhat interesting in the fourth quarter. This game, at the beginning of the week, I felt like it was a total trap game. Now I'm a little more comfortable. When kickoff comes, I'm probably going to think Iowa State's going to lose, and welcome to the brain of Chris Williams. Now, I trust Iowa State in this spot. I think I've said it all summer long. I think this is a championship-type football team. I think they prove it tonight with a big convincing win over Baylor going into the bye, and then a showdown with Kansas State in 2 weeks. Thanks to our friends at the Iowa Clinic and the Iowa Clinic Men's Center for sponsoring today's Game Day show here on the Cyclone Fanatic, our social media network, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere. Thanks to Matt Van Winkle for producing today's program. We'll see you guys at halftime.